Welcome to Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. So the NFL season has wrapped up. NFL offseason is in full gear right now in 2023. And yes, for anyone else who is watching around the world, I am aware of the XFL. And yes, I will talk about that maybe off and on throughout the spring of 2023 here on the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. But I will say when it comes to the NFL, there's still plenty to discuss, plenty to talk about. And one aspect we can really talk about here on the Sports Angle is Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Because, look, Lamar Jackson is an interesting case, not just out in Baltimore, but here in Las Vegas, too. Because as you see behind me with Allegiant Stadium, right now the Raiders need a quarterback. Commanders need a quarterback. Colts need a quarterback. Panthers need a quarterback. I mean, there is at least a dozen teams in the NFL who you can make a legit argument for need a quarterback. And if the Baltimore Ravens Lamar Jackson situation does not play out, do not be surprised if a dozen teams inquire about Lamar Jackson. Do not be surprised if a dozen NFL teams pick up the phone and call Baltimore trying to give them the best offer possible to get Lamar Jackson. But let's really answer the question that has really been asked over the last 48, 72 hours. Should Baltimore give Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract? Should Baltimore go out of their way and give Lamar Jackson Deshaun Watson money? Is Lamar Jackson worth giving $200 million plus fully guaranteed? Because you can really look at it from four different angles. You can look at it from the Baltimore Ravens angle. You can look at it from Lamar Jackson. You can look at it from the AFC North. And you can look at it from entire NFL. So let's really break it down, shall we? So you go to Baltimore. Now, Baltimore will not want to give Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract. The Baltimore Ravens, the front office, the executives out there in Maryland, they're not going to want to give Lamar Jackson $240 million fully guaranteed. They do not want to guarantee 100% of his contract. That gives away any leverage. That gives away any possibility of the Baltimore Ravens getting rid of Lamar Jackson in the future. It does not give an exit strategy. It does not give a loophole. It does not give a door the Baltimore Ravens can go down towards. But also keep in mind the Baltimore Ravens management is fully aware of how valuable Lamar Jackson is. Baltimore knows how much Lamar Jackson has meant to not just Baltimore, but how much he has meant to NFL in the last 5 years. Lamar Jackson won NFL MVP. That was not a coincidence. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in terms of talent we have seen in the last decade. Lamar Jackson is a valuable commodity in the NFL, and Baltimore management knows it. But really the question, general manager, the president of football operations, the vice president, the COO, the CEO, question has to be answered. Is Lamar Jackson worth giving $200 plus million, or is he worth a couple of first round picks if you trade him? Is Lamar Jackson going to play under a franchise tag, or would he sit out the year like Le'Veon Bell and get a lot of money the year after? because the Baltimore Ravens have a weird scenario here. Because Baltimore could theoretically place a franchise tag on Lamar Jackson and force him to play for that year. Absolutely. I mean, look, when it comes to Lamar Jackson, you have to look at it from every single angle. It's the reason why the show is called The Sports Angle. So when you look at it from Baltimore, they really have to address it as, is he worth $200 plus million fully guaranteed? And I don't believe Baltimore is willing to do it. If I had to play matchmaker, if I had to guess real quick, the Baltimore Ravens management, they are not going to be willing to spend Deshaun Watson money on Lamar Jackson. As a matter of fact, if I had to play a predictor here, I say the Baltimore Ravens management will just place a franchise tag on him and try to have him play this 5th year under a franchise tag. Because the Baltimore Ravens do not want to pay him over $200 million. There's a reason why there was an article that came out recently where the Baltimore Ravens were $100 million different from what Lamar Jackson's camp wanted. I will repeat that again for the people in the back. Baltimore and Lamar Jackson were $100 million apart in negotiation. So that's the first angle, that Baltimore is not going to want to pay him that much money. Now, let's take a second angle, Lamar Jackson's angle. Now, Lamar Jackson is going to really believe he is worth $200 million. Lamar Jackson's agent is going to want to have Lamar Jackson be the highest paid or one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL today. I also confidently believe that Lamar Jackson knows that he is better than Deshaun Watson. Lamar Jackson, in his mind, fully believes he is a better quarterback than Deshaun. And I mentioned this on the show a few weeks ago. Deshaun Watson being fully guaranteed is going to be the new benchmark for NFL quarterbacks. The next 2 free agencies after Deshaun Watson, they were going to ask for his contract and his contract only. So when people asked last offseason, well, what kind of actions and what kind of problems were going to come from Deshaun Watson being signed to a fully guaranteed contract, this is the result. Lamar Jackson wants to get paid like Deshaun Watson because he knows he's better than Deshaun. And if Deshaun gets $220 million, well, then how much am I worth? Take, for example, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. There's been reports that he is going to get a contract extension too. I mean, Jalen Hurts is going to believe he's better than Deshaun Watson, right? So he's going to go to Philadelphia and will probably want more than $220 because he's better than Deshaun. What about Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow next offseason? Are they going to go in there and they're going to say, you know what? We're better than Deshaun, and he got $220, so you're going to give us $240. You'll give us $250. You'll give us $260. Look, it's similar to the NHL. When Austin Matthews, when Connor McDavid, when Jack Eichel, when all those guys started signing $10 million per year, $11 million per year, $12 million per year, it set up the next offseason for somebody to up it. And they did with Nathan McKinnon in Colorado. It did the next offseason with Artemi Panarin in New York. And it's going to do it this next offseason when Austin Matthews most likely becomes the first $15 million per year player in the NHL. But let's get back to the NFL. I could talk about the NHL all day long. In fact, I do. It's called the Vegas Hockey Hub. But let's get back to the NFL. Deshaun Watson getting that contract from the Cleveland Browns, the cause and effect of it is what you're seeing now. Lamar Jackson's camp, his agent, his executives, and all the people that help manage Lamar, the people who are in Lamar's ear, is going to tell him the facts. You are better than Deshaun Watson. You deserve to get paid like Deshaun Watson. You deserve to get a fully guaranteed contract just like him. And the next 3 off seasons, you are going to see every young quarterback want to get either a fully guaranteed contract or they're going to want to get $200 million plus because that's what Deshaun Watson got. So I don't blame Lamar Jackson for wanting this contract. I don't blame Lamar Jackson for wanting a fully guaranteed deal. He is just looking at what the top market value is, and he knows he's better than who that is. So that's the second angle there. The first one was Baltimore. They're not going to want to sign him to a fully guaranteed deal. They're going to stretch this out as much as possible. Lamar Jackson believes he's a fully guaranteed player. He believes he's a $220+ million deal. He's going to want to get that money. So what about the next 2 angles? What about the AFC North? His division is going to not want Baltimore to give him a fully guaranteed contract. Make no mistake about it, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh would love to have Baltimore be forced to ship out Lamar Jackson. I mean, I've talked to people in Pittsburgh, in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, and they've told me that if Lamar Jackson gets traded, it will make the AFC North better for said team. That the Baltimore Ravens trade Lamar Jackson, then Cincinnati's the front runner to win the AFC North. I had a Cincinnati fan tell me that. In Cleveland, I talked to a Cleveland Browns fan a few weeks ago about Lamar Jackson, and he told me that if Baltimore trades away Lamar Jackson, then it means that he will not have the worst contract in the AFC North. Deshaun Watson still will. And from Pittsburgh, their explanation was if Lamar Jackson gets traded, then Pittsburgh might have a chance to be a wild card team. So if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you are going to side with Baltimore on this one. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to want to see Lamar Jackson be signed to a 5-year deal, signed to a 6-year deal, because that means you're going to have to face him 10 to 12 times during that contract. If Cleveland has Baltimore sign this deal, then Cleveland could come around and say, hey, we do not have the highest contract anymore. It's that team over there. Even though we directly caused said contract to happen. But no, they did it more, so go put the blame on them. And if Cincinnati sees Baltimore not pay Lamar Jackson, then it takes the pressure off of them for 1 year. Because here's what will happen if Lamar Jackson gets a fully guaranteed contract. The Cincinnati Bengals in 2024 will have to pay Joe Burrow, and who will most likely want what Deshaun Watson and whatever Lamar Jackson signs with. If you're the Cleveland Browns, when you see Baltimore give him this fully guaranteed contract, then that means that you have kickstarted this kind of movement. That you were the first, but you're not going to be the last to give fully guaranteed contracts. And if you're Pittsburgh, you are going to moan and groan because you know that you're going to have to go up against one of the best quarterbacks in the AFL for 2 times a year. Yeah, American Football League and the National Football League, AFC, NFC. Hey, how about it? So, with Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, I would say that they most likely do not want to have Baltimore give Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract because of the ramifications that it would give them being in the same division. Oh, yeah, the Cleveland Browns are absolutely terrible, and I've said that to a friend of mine as well. Hey, I get you're a Cleveland Browns fan, but your team makes terrible decisions. Deshaun didn't get his money based on market. He got lucky and benefited from a Browns front office that panicked. I partially agree. He didn't get his money based on market. That's facts. But the Atlanta Falcons almost made a deal to get Deshaun Watson. And I think that the Atlanta Falcons were going to pay Deshaun Watson just like the Cleveland Browns were going to pay Deshaun Watson. I remember hearing a report coming out in New Orleans that they were thinking about trading for Deshaun Watson. So whichever team was going to sign Deshaun Watson, whoever team traded to get him, I would say that there was a good chance that he was going to get a big deal regardless of who it was. So, yeah, him not getting his money based on market, I agree with you. So that's the third angle that I'm talking about here. But the last angle when it comes to Baltimore giving Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract, the last angle is the NFL itself. Because the NFL will be licking their chops. They're going to be licking their lips. They're going to be happy if Lamar Jackson does not agree to a franchise tag in Baltimore. If the Baltimore Ravens do not pay Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract, kind of pivot back to what the beginning of the show was, there are 12 teams right now, a dozen teams in the NFL who do not have a quarterback. There are a dozen teams in the NFL who greatly need Lamar Jackson. And if they sign him, that's going to lose a lot of value for those 12 teams. If Lamar Jackson signs a fully guaranteed contract in Baltimore, those 12 teams are going to have to find a new quarterback to go to. They're going to have to go up and get an Aaron Rodgers and overpay for him. They're going to have to go and maybe get a Geno Smith on a lower end. They're going to have to try to get Daniel Jones for $40 to $45 million per year. Lamar Jackson is actually the best case scenario in the NFL because you have Chicago in the Justin Fields situation. You have Geno Smith. You have Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones. There is about 6 quarterbacks on the free agent market right now. Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield, just to name a couple. So with the Baltimore Ravens, if they give Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract, a dozen teams lose in that scenario. Whereas if Baltimore doesn't agree to a deal with Lamar Jackson and they are forced to trade Lamar, you are going to see at least a dozen teams call up Baltimore and give up 2 first-round picks and extra to get Lamar Jackson. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly who they will be. I will tell you all 12 teams that will pick up a phone and call Baltimore. All right, the Atlanta Falcons. Let's start out with them. The Atlanta Falcons have Desmond Ridder, who is a struggling rookie quarterback, and you had a veteran quarterback in Marcus Mariota. Yeah, if Baltimore wasn't going to pay Lamar Jackson, I could very easily see the Atlanta Falcons calling up Baltimore, offering the 9th overall pick and saying, you know what, here's our first round pick this year, our first round pick next year, and a second round pick, and they would have to give a player in the deal as well. But you know what? Give us these picks, give us Lamar Jackson, and have him be the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. I can very easily see it. You want to know who also I can see that happening to? Carolina. Carolina has a new head coach, a new coaching staff. They're going to have new assistant coaches. The executives have had a few shakeups as well. And Carolina does not have a quarterback. Yeah, they have Matt Corral. They have Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker, the XFL legend. But you do not have a Lamar Jackson. And with all the reports that the Carolina Panthers are going to take a quarterback in the top 10 picks anyway, wouldn't it make logical sense for Baltimore to accept a phone call from Carolina and say, you know what, if you give us 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, you will get Lamar Jackson from us. Because Carolina needs a quarterback almost as desperately as Atlanta needs a quarterback. You know what? I'll give you 10 more. How about the Houston Texans? The Houston Texans are a team that's in a weird state right now. Davis Mills is from Stanford, and he showed some promise. But there's no guarantee the Houston Texans are going to take a quarterback at number 2. There is no guarantee that the Houston Texans are going to select Bryce Young. It's all been speculation at this point. So if you're the Houston Texans, wouldn't you sacrifice that 12th overall pick and maybe 2 future first-round picks to get Lamar Jackson? I mean, could you imagine giving up the 12th overall pick, getting Lamar Jackson, and then taking the best defensive player at number 2? Because I could see a Houston Texans scenario where the Houston Texans trade for a quarterback and they take another position at number 2. You know what? The Indianapolis Colts, I'm going to put them on that list as well. The Indianapolis Colts have had Matt Ryan, Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, Matt Hasselbeck, insert old veteran quarterback. But the Baltimore Ravens and Indianapolis Colts, it's a weird dynamic. Because the Indianapolis Colts are on the downward, whereas Baltimore is in the middle. But the Indianapolis Colts have a 4th overall pick. Is Lamar Jackson worth a 4th overall pick? Well, they're going to make an argument that Russell Wilson was a 6th overall pick last year. Russell Wilson was a 6th and a 5th overall pick in back-to-back drafts. So is it possible to make the logical explanation to Indianapolis that instead of trading up to 1 and getting CJ from Ohio State, why not go at 4, trade with Baltimore, trade up 3 first-round picks, and get Lamar Jackson? Because the Indianapolis Colts are in a desperate time right now. You know what? So right now I've talked about Atlanta. They could be a team in contention. Carolina could be a team in contention. Houston, Indianapolis. But what about them? What about them, folks? How about the Las Vegas Raiders? Why don't we bring them here? The Las Vegas Raiders have the 7th overall pick. The Raiders have been a possible suitor to get a quarterback in the upcoming draft. Oh, but what about the Patriots way, Ian? Well, I actually think Lamar Jackson would be better than any Patriots way quarterback you bring here to Las Vegas. You also would be getting a young 25-year-old quarterback instead of an aging veteran at 33, 34 years old. So Las Vegas needs a quarterback. They have multiple first-round picks. I'm not saying that they should do it, but I'm just saying that it's a possibility that they go out and they acquire Lamar Jackson. If teams start handing out fully guaranteed contracts, we will be watching flag football in about 3 years. Well, first off, we already play flag football. I mean, you can't touch a quarterback now unless it's a 15-yard penalty. But to answer your question, fully guaranteed contracts is going to be the future. I mentioned it about 10 minutes ago here on the show, that a fully guaranteed contract is going to be what Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, it is going to be what quarterbacks are going to demand moving forward. Because their argument is going to be, we're better than Deshaun Watson, and he got a fully guaranteed contract. To kind of take you back, Sean, it was about 2017, 2018. Kirk Cousins was given $84 million, and he had the largest signing bonus in NFL history. He got to keep around 80% of that money, if I remember correctly. Kirk Cousins, because he got so much money in guaranteed money, that after that offseason, it was either 2018 or 2017. The next offseason, Dak Prescott. The next offseason, you had Aaron Rodgers. The next offseason, you had so many quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford. All these quarterbacks wanted more guaranteed money, more signing bonus money because Kirk Cousins got paid so much. In fact, I'll have you look it up real quick. But was it 2017 or 2018? But Kirk Cousins got this like 5-year deal, and it was the most guaranteed signing bonus in NFL history. He had the most money in terms of signing bonus. And sure enough, because of it, the next 2 off seasons, there was the quarterbacks like Jimmy Garoppolo. There was quarterbacks like Matt Ryan, if I remember correctly. So many quarterbacks wanted more signing bonus guaranteed than they wanted the actual contract length. So it's really the standard in the NFL. When there's an NFL quarterback that gets the most insert blank in NFL history, give it about 2 or 3 years, that guy will be like 10th or 11th in the NFL because every quarterback after him will want to get that same deal. So yes, I assume very well that because of Deshaun Watson getting a fully guaranteed contract, Baltimore or whoever pays him is going to give him a fully guaranteed contract as well. So I mentioned 5. I said there's a dozen. I mentioned 5. Let's keep it going. The Miami Dolphins. Miami is his backyard. Miami is the hometown of Lamar Jackson. Miami is the business or place of Lamar Jackson. He has a lot of business in Miami. He has a couple of shops and things that he has there. Lamar Jackson going to Miami doesn't sound that bad when you actually understand that they want to get rid of Tua. Stephen Ross did not want Tua. Stephen Ross has complained about Tua openly. So getting a hometown kid in Lamar Jackson would be hypothetical. But it actually could be practical. Let's go with number 7. The New England Patriots. I could very plausibly see the New England Patriots pulling off a trade like this. I could see New England swinging for the fences, giving up on Mac Jones, and getting Lamar Jackson. Not only because I think Mac Jones sucks, but because the New England Patriots have been terrible without Tom Brady. It didn't matter if it was Cam Newton. Didn't matter if it was Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer, Bailey Zappi. It didn't matter who it was. The New England Patriots have not been the same since Tom Brady has left. So what way to fix that than by bringing in a top 10 talent in Lamar Jackson? Number 8 would be New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans Saints, they need a quarterback. Jameis Winston's on his way out. Andy Dalton's a veteran quarterback, but he's not the answer. And New Orleans and Lamar Jackson, this is a team that could go out and try to make a play for him because Alvin Kamara got arrested. We know about his deal. So New Orleans needing a quarterback and then meeting with Derek Carr lets you know that they're in the interest for a quarterback. The New York Giants are at number 9. Daniel Jones is not a long-term answer. Daniel Jones had one great year, and that's all he has been. Number 10 would be the New York Jets. It has been well documented that Zach Wilson is on his last leg. Zach Wilson is going to be out in New York very soon. And this is the bright lights, big city. This is the Big Apple, right? The 5 boroughs. This is lower Manhattan. When it comes to New York City, they expect the best and they demand the best. So Lamar Jackson being a top 10 quarterback, he would be the next great quarterback to be in New York for the first time since Mark Sanchez, for the first time since Brett Favre. You would have a quarterback that people in New York would actually give a you-know-what about. Number 11, why don't we talk about the San Francisco 49ers? Yeah, that's right. I don't believe Brock Purdy is a long-term answer. I think Trey Lance is going to be a bust. I said that from opening night. Jimmy Garoppolo's on his way out. He is going to be a free agent. San Francisco is going to let go of Jimmy G. I will not be surprised if the San Francisco 49ers do go out and try to get a quarterback. Because Brock Purdy was a nice 7th-round pick, but he's not going to be a long-term solution. Trey Lance was a 2nd overall pick, but he has been a disaster in San Francisco, and I will not be surprised if they let him go after 2023. And the last team that really does not have a quarterback right now is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay lost Tom Brady. Their current starting quarterback is Kyle Trask, a former second-round pick in Tampa Bay. And unless they have a lot of faith and confidence in Kyle Trask, I could see Tampa Bay going out and trying to acquire a quarterback this offseason. So to recap the dozen teams that need a quarterback in the NFL: Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Las Vegas Raiders, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, New Orleans Saints, New York Giants, New York Jets, the San Francisco 49ers, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody else either has a quarterback already lined up or they have a quarterback who is going to be drafted in 2023. Which team has the most money to get Jackson? Well, I would say the Atlanta Falcons out of that equation. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons have the second most cap space in the NFL. Las Vegas is right below them. So I would say Atlanta and Las Vegas would probably be, in terms of money, getting Lamar Jackson. Jones would be a perfect fit for the Raiders for a couple of years to train the draft QB. Rodgers is going to Giants. I actually disagree. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think Daniel Jones is going to re-sign with New York. All right, he is going to blind them with that one great year, and they will pay him over $200 million to be in New York. And I think Aaron Rodgers, if I'm being realistic here, Aaron Rodgers is going to be coming here to Las Vegas. Green Bay is going to trade Aaron Rodgers to Las Vegas to team up with Devontae Adams. And look, I'm not just saying that because I have talked to multiple people here in town or people who are very close to the situation, that when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, him coming to Las Vegas is going to be a reality. That the Las Vegas Raiders and Mark Davis are going to go all in on getting a veteran quarterback this offseason. And when it comes to veteran quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers is probably the best quarterback you can get out of that deck. So I say to that comment there, the Raiders right behind me are going to get Aaron Rodgers. The Giants are going to overpay to bring back Daniel Jones. And the Jets are probably going to get Derek Carr. You know, the Jets are probably going to get Derek Carr. The Saints will probably go on and get, somebody like maybe Baker Mayfield, for example. But I really see this carousel be a lot different. So with it being the NFL offseason, we're only doing a half-hour show here for the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. During the NFL season, we do an hour and a half. But because of the NFL offseason, we're doing a half hour here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. This was a fantastic episode. Until next time, have a good one. Continue watching football and have a good one.